गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः चिन्मयं व्याप्य सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव वेद्याद्रविन्दं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव जय गुरु ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. So Aditi, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So where are we in our text?
Page 113, first verse.
Yeah. Ta asura jagad satyamahuha. Nasti satyam veda purana di pramanam yasmin yasmin stadrisham jagadahuha. Vedanam pramanyam na manyanta ityartha. Ata eva nastishvaraha karta vyavastha pakshascha yasmin stadrisham jagadahu. Tarhi kuto asya jagat utpattim vadantityatraha aparaspareti. Aparascha paraschetya parasparam. Aparaspara to anyonyataha stri purush mithunat sambhutam jagat. Kimanyat karanam asya nastyan nyatikachit Kim tu kamahetukam stri purushayoha kama eva pravaha rupena heturasyetyah rityarthaha ghana ahankarascha tatrevo dahyate nihataha. They, the demoniac, say that the universe is without truth. The authority of the Vedas, Puranas, and the like is not true, in which such is, they say, the universe. That means they do not accept the authority of the Vedas. Therefore, they say, the universe is such where there is no God, the creator and director. Then from where is the creation of the world, they say? It is said thus, from one and another, i.e., mutual. By the mutual union of sexes, the universe is created. Is there any other cause of this? None other than lust. The meaning of their saying is that in the form of continuity, the mutual lust of the sexes is its cause. Excessive self-conceit has also been described there thus.
So this is expounding on a verse in Gita, in the divine and devilish states. I would actually parse it a little bit different than he does. So what he's talking about is the materialists who say that there is no God. The world comes about mechanically, and in terms of what causes it, here Vidyaranya uses the word lust. I would say that it's desire. And we can think of desire in the broadest sense. We could even say that gravity itself is a form of desire in that sense. That's kind of a very broad, modern 21st century understanding of it. But what it is, it's a denial of the deep spirituality of the Vedic culture. Now, when we look at other South Indian teachings, specifically Buddhism, Buddhism is not atheistic. Buddhism is non-theistic. Buddhism is a spiritual psychology. It deals with the mind of a human being. It does not deal with the existence or non-existence of gods. And in fact, there are sects of Buddhism, most specifically the Tibetan forms, which have devas, they have gods. But the underlying teaching of Vedanta is there is a God. God, the creator, is the first idea that emerges out of consciousness itself. Goes by many names. Brahma, masculine noun ending in A. It's different than Brahman, neuter noun. Prajnanam Brahman. Here means Brahman, ultimate reality, is consciousness. But inherent within it, by its inherent Maya Shakti, comes this completely creative will by which the whole phenomenal world comes about. That wielder of this will is variously called Ishvara, the Lord, Brahma, the creator, sometimes Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg, sometimes Prajapati, the great ancestor, the great progenitor, has many, many different names. But the important thing to understand about it, in terms of this phenomenal world, it's a cosmos, not a chaos, as Swamiji used to say. It's organized. There's intelligence all the way through it. There are cosmic laws. Now, human beings, our whole scientific methodology is all about deeper and deeper discovery of these cosmic laws. Just my own lifetime, physics has changed tremendously. What we know about physics has changed. So what Vidyaranya is saying is the materialist view that denies the existence of God, denies any purpose for a human being. An atheist denies a purpose for you and me. The Vedas put forward we do have a purpose. And it's not just the satisfaction of desire. It's not money, property, and prestige. It's not family and houses and fast cars. Ultimately, our purpose is God consciousness. Our purpose is God realization. And in terms of how we interact with one another, how to some degree to bring peace into the world. In the Hebrew Bible, what the Christians call the Old Testament, there's a wonderful cosmic notion called the peaceable kingdom. It's a wonderful notion where the lion shall lie down with the lamb, and the adder and the child will play with one another. They will beat their swords into plowshares. They will not make war anymore. And I tell you, when we hear language like that, I suspect you're like me. There's a place in our hearts that goes, oh, if only that were so. If only we had a peaceable kingdom. That's a divine idea that's been placed in the heart of human beings. We have the capacity to ignore it. Just look at the world today. And the root of that misunderstanding is our misunderstanding of cosmic law. Any thoughts on this? The Master Jesus phrased it this way. When asked what was the greatest of all the commandments, all 613 that are in the Jewish scripture. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and soul and mind and strength. And the second is like unto the first. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two laws hang all the law and the prophets. Really, that's all you need to know about life. So Vidyaranya here is saying the attitude of the materialists, the Shunyavadins, the scholiasts of the void, who put forward a meaningless universe. That's not what the deep teaching of the Vedas is, the Vedanta. It's also not the direct experience of the great Mahatmas. All right, next verse.
Idamadya maya labdhamimam prapasye manoratham. Idamasti damapi me bhavishyati punardhanaram. Aso maya hataha shatrur hanishye chaparanapi ishvaro hamaham bhogi siddho aham balavan sukhi. Ard ardyo bhijana vanasmi konyo sti sadrisho maya yakshaye dasyami modishya ityajnana vimohitaha. Aneka chitta vibhranta mohajala samavritaha prasaktaha kama bhogeshu punanti narakeshu. This today has been gained by me. This desire I shall obtain. This is mine, and this wealth also shall be mine in future. That enemy has been slain by me, and others also I shall slay. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am successful, mighty, and happy. I am rich and well born. Who else is equal to me? I will sacrifice, I will give, I will rejoice. Thus, deluded by ignorance, bewildered by many a fancy, covered by the meshes of delusion, addicted to the gratification of lust, they fall down into a foul hell.
So this is actually a mind state that has great resonance in today's world. There are politicians who completely believe that this is the smart way to move through life. There are business people who believe this is the smart way to move through life. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday who works up at Cal Berkeley, and he was grading essays in the class that he's teaching. And it's an interesting class. It has to do with data science as it applies to ethics and things like that. And the big challenge for him is to see whether or not people have used these artificial intelligence programs to write their papers. Because so many of the kids feel cheating is fine. The smart person is the one who gets away with it. So where people are losing a sense of a moral center, they're losing a sense of the value of living an ethical life, where we no longer see the building of character as something worthwhile in life. Hinduism says we're in the midst of the Kali Yuga. Certainly see it. Certainly see it. But the opposite idea is well, let me frame it this way. The Master Jesus said, when I was thirsty, you gave me water to drink. When I was hungry, you gave me food to eat. When I was destitute, you gave me clothes. And the disciple says, Master, when did you do all of these things? And he said, whatever you have done to the least of these, you have done unto me. So the yogi aspires to this. The jnani does it as a matter of course. We practice seeing every human being as a divine incarnation of God, as myself. Just like when you cut your thumb in the kitchen, you don't go, bad thumb, bad thumb. Oh, no. Because you as an ego pervade your whole body. You love every part of your body. So also the yogi practices seeing everyone as themselves. Break down notions of egoism, I-ness and mine. And again, this last one is a direct quote from Gita. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Etena पुनर्जन्मकारणत्वमुदाह्यतं भवति तच्च पुनः पपञ्चितम् आत्मसम्भाविताः स्तब्धा धनमानमदान्विताः यजन्ते नाम यज्ञेयस्ते दम्भेनाविधि पूर्वकम् अहंकारं बलं दर्पं कामं क्रोधं च संश्रिताः मामात्मपरदेहेषु प्रद्विषन्तोऽभ्यसूयकाः तानहं द्विषतः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्यजस्रमशुभानासुरीष्वेव योनिषु आसुरीं योनिमापन्ना मूढा जन्मनि जन्मनि मामप्राप्येव कौन्तेय ततो यान्त्यधमां गतिम्. It is shown by the foregoing that this intense egoism is the cause of rebirth. The same is again being enlarged upon thus. Self-conceited, obstinate, filled with pride and arrogance of wealth, they perform sacrifices which are so only in name, with ostentation and without regard to rules. Possessed of egoism, force and insolence, lust and anger, these malignant people hate me dwelling in the bodies of themselves and others.
Yes.
These malicious and cruel evildoers, most degraded of men, I hurl perpetually into the wombs of the asuras only in these worlds. Obtaining the asuric wombs and deluded birth after birth, not attaining to me, they thus fall, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, into a still lower condition.
So here he's talking about the descent of the human psyche. We can look at it in the broader sense of reincarnation, but we can look at it also in the sense of one particular lifetime. So let me give you a very clear example. I was listening to a young man share at an AA meeting. He's probably in his late 30s, attractive young man, lots of talent, obviously smart. And he starts to tell me, or tell all of us in the meeting, he was the speaker, about what we call his bottom, his descent into addiction, and the kind of person he became. The way in which he degraded himself, the way in which he degraded other people, the way in which he lost everything that was meaningful to him. the way he upset and worried his family, taking advantage of people, lying, cheating, and stealing, ending up essentially homeless, all because of this idea, I need to get what I want. My own desires, my own gratification is what it's all about. The thickening of egoism. Now, all of us may not have as disastrous a result as this young man. But when we move against the integrity of our own self nature, when we act adharmically, it leaves a burden in the psyche. We have guilt. Eventually, we have shame. What's the difference between guilt and shame? This is my definition. I'm guilty when I've done something that I regret. Shame is when I think I, as a person, am inherently bad or flawed. Both are the results of the kind of having a mind directed. How am I doing? Am I okay? What do they think of me? How do I get my desires met? How do I get my needs met? That's the language I hear so frequently now. People dressing up their desires as something that's inherently necessary for their well-being. And the more we go down that road, we get involved in what I call the KKK. It's not the Ku Klux Klan spiritually. Kama, Karma, Krodha. Kama, craving, which leads me into egoistic action. Karma, Kartavya. Inevitable result. Even if I have momentary satisfaction, Krodha, anger. And I think many of us may know people or see people on the news who are consumed by anger. And then because of the anger, they're willing to do some pretty atrocious things to one another. Now that's there within you and me. The honest yogi, as they meditate, I call it our inner Hitler, starts to emerge. We get to see our own capacity for lust, fear, anger, despondency, all those negative emotions and drives. Yoga would say we spent lifetimes. No wonder they're there. And we have to be willing to let the kshaya, the unloading of the unconscious, happen. Let those things come up to be released. It's not about suppressing and being a goody-goody. It's also not acting out. It's not either. So these demoniacal tendencies within the human heart. If we go down that path and we feed them because we think that's the way to be happy and successful in life, thinking of a particular politician, and he's said publicly one of the things he's going to do is investigate and arrest all his political enemies, thinking he's going to be vengeful, or that's going to make him safe. But if he rules by fear, that's the way to do it. Only destroys the person and ultimately the society. Any thoughts on this? Well, don't I have a right to be angry when I'm cheated? Isn't justifiable anger, righteous indignation, isn't that a good thing? Many people fight for righteous causes, fueled by anger, fueled by wanting to defeat the other side. But Krishna says in Gita, that may not be the wisest way to act. Krishna tells Arjuna to fight for the purpose of establishing justice, righting the wrongs, but to do so, Shitala Manasaha, with a cool mind, seeing it from a higher view. Doesn't mean we don't work for justice, but to make sure we're not coming from a place of anger and revenge, trying to dominate others. Any thoughts? Next verse.
Shuddhavasana tu gyata gyeya, gyeya swarupam trayodashadhyaye bhagavanaha. Gyeyam yattat pravakshyami yajgyatva mritam mashute anadimat param brahma na sattanasa duchyate sarvataha panipadam tatsarvatokshe shiro mukham sarvataha shrutim loke sarvamavritya tishtati sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabhricheva nirgunam gunabhokta cha bahirantascha bhutanam charameva cha sukshmatvat tadavigyeyam durastham chantike chatat avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktamiva cha sthitam bhutabhartra cha tadgyeyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha jyotishamapi tadjyotistamasaha paramuchyate jnanam gamyam Hrithi sarvasya vishitam. But the pure vasana is that which has known that which is to be known. The Lord, in the 13th chapter of the Gita, has described the nature of the thing to be known thus. I will describe that which is to be known, and by knowing which one attains to immortality. It is the beginningless Supreme Brahman, and who is said to be neither existent nor non-existent. With hands and feet everywhere, with eyes, heads, and faces everywhere, with ears on all sides in the universe, that exists, pervading all. Shining by the functions of all the senses, yet without the senses, devoid of all attachment, yet sustaining all, free from the gunas, yet their experiencer. He is without and within all beings. He is unmoving and also the moving, incomprehensible because of its subtlety. He is far away, and yet he is near. He is undivided, and yet seems to be divided among beings. He is to be known as supporting beings, destroying them, and creating them afresh. He is the light of lights, and is said to be beyond darkness. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the goal of knowledge. He is dwelling in the hearts of all.
So beautiful, beautiful quotation from Gita. So we'll parse it because it's very, very good and useful stuff. So going back to the beginning, would you read the first idea, please?
I will describe that which is to be known, and by knowing which one attains to immortality.
Yes. So again, we are not mortal beings who become immortal. In actuality, we realize that we are birthless, changeless, and deathless. So he's now going to describe the nature of the self in you and in me. Now remember, these verses only point. Always, they indicate, they do not define. What do we do with these? We can take each idea, sit quietly, still the mind, introvert the attentive faculty, and see whether or not it's true about myself. So we need to make this very clear distinction. If we study Vedanta and learn about the self as an idea, well, what do you think about the self? Well, this is what I think about the self. Well, my understanding of scripture is this is the truth about the self. What we're describing for ourselves is an idea that's kind of hanging out there. That approach does nothing to free us. What we have to do is see whether or not this is true about me, myself. And at this point, the teacher will do something like hold up the book, or what I do is hold up the phone. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. Let's inquire into the nature of that. All right, next idea, please.
It is the beginningless Supreme Brahman, and who is said to be neither existent nor non-existent.
So those of us who are going through the Aitareya Upanishad on Saturday mornings, in that text, we're going to have the first of the great Mahavakyas, the great utterances from the Upanishads, from the Vedas. prajnanam brahma. It's our definition of what ultimate reality is. Ultimate reality is consciousness, awareness. That's what it is. So here he describes that great ultimate reality, which in Sanskrit we call Brahman. Next idea.
With hands and feet everywhere, with eyes, heads, and faces everywhere, with ears on all sides in the universe, that exists, pervading all.
So it's not like it's some monster running around with billions of hands and billions of feet and eyes, etc. What it means is you see a world from your viewpoint, I see the world from my viewpoint. You are aware of your body, I'm aware of my body. You are aware of your thoughts and feelings, I'm aware of my thoughts and feelings. But when you look behind your eyes and notice the knower itself, all that's there is witnessing consciousness. I look behind my eyes and notice the knower. All that's there is witnessing consciousness. What Krishna is saying is the self in me is not similar to, like the self in me. Yours is not like mine. The self in me is the self in you. There's only one of us here. So it's the self that enlivens the senses in you. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. But it's that same self that enlivens the senses in me and in all beings. If I have two cups, is the space in one distinct and different from the space in the other? If I go, wait a minute, you confused space. No. Space is sthita. It has not moved. It has not changed. The self is not in you. Your equipment is in the self. Next idea.
Shining by the functions of all the senses, yet without the senses.
Yeah.
Devoid of all attachment, yet sustaining all.
Wait, let's do the first part. So here we have this idea of a sparsha yoga, from which you used to call it the touch of the untouched. It is because of consciousness that all the senses perceive, the organs of action are able to act, yet the self is untouched by anyone. In fact, I'm always unattached, ever the witness of it all. Next idea.
Devoid of all attachment, yet sustaining all.
Yes. Devoid of all attachment, even though the mind may be attached, in truth, it never touches me. Clearest example of this for to understand is if you go to the dream state, you can have an anxiety-filled dream where you're very attached to the outcome of the dream. And even though that seems very real to the dreamer mind, when you wake up, you are still safe in your bed. Never really touched by you. Next idea.
Free from the gunas, yet their experiencer.
So the three gunas, tamas, rajas, and sattva, the mind moves through those states. It's actually more of a spiral. The more we practice, the more ultimately sattvic the mind becomes. But you still go to sleep at night, still work in the world. In Gita, Krishna says, be you vigunaihi, be you ever beyond the gunas, yet ever remain in the sattvic state. So the idea here is watch the mind play through the gunas, knowing that it never touches me. Yet it is by virtue of asparsha yoga that the mind is able to go through its states. A practice that's implied here. Swamiji used to say the way to heal the mind, get out of the mind. Step back. Stay identified. Sakshi. Always the witness of all the mind states. Next idea.
He is without and within all beings.
So, sarvam kalvidam brahma. All this world is verily Brahman. What I'm seeing is name and form. Is just consciousness appearing as it, just like in the dream state. Every object, every person in the dream is nothing but my mind appearing as that. Yet, I am never touched by what we call nirguna Brahman, Brahman without qualities, the eternal subject. Saguna Brahman, Brahman with qualities, the phenomenal one. It looks like two Dvaita, but it's not two Advaita. There's the mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Is the reflection in the mirror separate from the mirror? Is the mirror itself appearing as the reflection? Next verse, or next idea, excuse me.
He is unmoving and also the moving.
Same idea. You go nowhere. You are kutastha, still and immovable like a mountain. Whole world passes in front of you. You are in that still point that never changes. And you are also the phenomena, which is always changing. We call the phenomenal world the Jagat because it goes Jagat, 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 always moving. Next idea.
Incomprehensible because of its subtlety.
Yes. So it is not a data point that you can acquire as a piece of knowledge. Aha, I know it now. Like you know a mathematical equation or the answer to a riddle. Yet it is not unknown. How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself, yet you are not unknown. Self is swayambhu, self-evident. It needs no other knower to validate its existence. Next idea.
He is far away, and yet he is near.
So however far we go, you know, if you go onto YouTube, you can see what where the Voyagers 1 and 2, what they are discovering. They finally left the solar system. After all these decades, that's all the farthest they've come.
Mm-hmm.
Or we look at the James Webb Telescope, which is actually almost like a time machine because of the time it takes for light to come to the Earth. It's able to peer back now 14.8 billion years. I do not know how many light years away it can perceive. There's no edge, but we have an edge to the perceivable universe, all because of the speed of light. That's just as far as we can see. Yet, Brahman is beyond that. Yet also immanent. It pervades all this. Your butts in the creation, which means God pervades you. So, if we define God, that which is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, birthless, changeless, deathless, the same yesterday, today, and forever. What about me partakes of that? It's not my body. It's not my energy. It's not my mind. It's not my ego. It's not my intellect. Not deep sleep. It's my very experience. Next idea.
He is undivided, and yet seems to be divided among beings.
So again, we can go back to the mirror. So if two people stand in front of the mirror, it looks like there's two people in the mirror. You'll see the background of the room that's behind them looking into the mirror. But has the mirror been divided into parts? So all this world of name and form, which is a world of multiplicity, do not deny that's what appears. Yet the material cause of it, one undivided consciousness. Again, we go to the dream state. In the dream state, there's a world of name and form which has multiplicity as its nature. Yet it is your one undivided mind that appears as that. Next idea.
He is known to be he is to be known as supporting beings, destroying them and creating them afresh.
Yes, so it's the Bharat, the support of everything. There is no existence apart from it. And what is the changeless nature of the world? It is changing. Every name and form has prior non-existence. Then it comes into existence. Then it continues to exist for a while, and most of it changes within its period of existence. And then it has subsequent non-existence. Scientists tell us that 99.9% of all the species that have existed on the earth, just our little planet, are extinct. Such is the nature of Nama Rupa, the world of name. Everything passes away. And as Krishna says in the second chapter, why grieve over the inevitable? Let it go. Cherish the beauty of life because of our deep understanding of its fundamental impermanence. Next idea.
He is the light of lights and is said to be beyond darkness.
So we have a light, like the lamp, by which everything in the room is made known. But there is a greater light, the light of the sun, by which the lamp itself is made known to me. But what is that light by which everything is illumined? The light of awareness itself. Or as Krishna will say in Gita, the knower of the field in every field of experience. Now, if I turn on the lamp, it can then shine its light on the cup and the flowers and the picture frame. But I know that the lamp is on. So what is the light that even lights every light? That is consciousness. That is myself. Next idea.
Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the goal of knowledge.
Yes. So, as awareness strikes the subtle intellect, it then splinters, it refracts, it, what's the word I want? It is seen as what we call the triple T. Triple T means the triple factor, which is knower, knowing, and the known. So when consciousness strikes the subtle intellect, that light of awareness, just like the sun striking a prism, then shows up as knower, knowing, and known. It becomes very clear if you look at the dream state. The nature of the dream state is my one mind then refracts into knower, knowing, and known. Now, this section of the verse not only implies that the Tripurti is nothing but consciousness, but within the human bosom, we have two forces always operating: dharma and karma. So we have the karma chakra, the wheel of karma. Well, I've been a dancer, that didn't work out very well. Maybe it'd be better if I'm a bank robber. Well, I'm a bank robber, that didn't work out very well. Maybe if I'm a king, that'll be better. I become a king. Oh, this is such a burden. It's so much hard work. It would be so much easier if I was just a simple monk. And you become a monk. Oh, this is terrible. I would be much better if I just was a householder and had a family. And you do that. I'm round and round and round and round. If karma were the only law, we'd just be running in circles forever. But the other impulse is the dharma underneath all this. What is the dharma of the human mind? The human mind is a pleasure seeker, pain avoider mechanism. That's all we do. The only doubt is, where is the good? Now, in truth, good is my swabhava, my own self-nature. So we say that the dharma of a human being is God consciousness, self-realization. One meaning it is the self is always swayambhu, self-evident, swayam jyoti, self-luminous. That's its nature, that's its dharma. But the other understanding of that term is that's where the human mind is going. That's the evolution of the soul, the subtle body. Everyone is coming home to God, just like rivers flowing towards the ocean. That's where we're going. So it's not just a never-ending circle. It's a spiral. As the mind understands more, as we drop away from our desires, things that have caused us pain, at some point, the idea occurs to us, let me try the spiritual life, see what that's about. May do that for many lifetimes. Then as the soul evolves, it becomes open to the Ananda Marga, the path of bliss. Begin to find out, okay, the self-realization stuff makes a whole lot of sense. And seemingly by grace, we meet a teacher. Themselves established in knowledge. Come with me. Let me show you who you really are. Next idea.
He is dwelling in the hearts of all.
So here we've talked about this in the earlier understanding. The self in me is the self in you. There's nobody out there who doesn't have a self, who doesn't have the self. Next idea.
That's it.
All right, very rich and very beautiful shloka. I don't think we have time to delve into another. So do we have any thoughts or questions before we wrap up today? All right, we'll end here then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.